Ladies and gentlemen, we are now gathered to induct the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame may very well be the best on the card, or maybe in his words, to kind of quote that phrase, the best in the Hall of Fame. Well, we'll certainly talk about that. I'll certainly try to give him the best speech I've done to date. And I've done a lot of these, but join me here over the next 10 or 15 minutes as we kind of look back on our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame's career. And I go back, ladies and gentlemen, to the early days of YouTube when some of our listeners, maybe some of our members in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, maybe were on the training wheels, figuratively and literally. Some might have only been just starting out their careers, others, well, who knows what. But that's when we got the early beginnings of Jake Matthews. The early beginnings of Jake Matthews, which has led him to a career which has taken him to 6 different states, even wrestled in several different cities in, well, the state that I reside in, New York. And it's also taken him to a career that has won him over 45 plus championships, a 2-time briefcase holder. In some of the promotions, the longest running world champion ever. And really a man that has stamped his own footprint in the world of backyard, underground, and semi pro wrestling. In many ways, to kind of quote Frank Sinatra, he did it his own way. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, he's going to take his place, as a matter of fact, actually in the second Hall of Fame, because if you were following NEW last season in season 4, he was actually inducted into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame by a man that was here in his chair 2 weeks ago. Well, not quite his chair, because actually it seemed like he was, I don't know what he was doing. He probably was getting ready to, like, lift a car up or something. But that was me. I think we all could agree with that. We probably could do it. But that was Mr. Power Surge. And Mr. Power Surge is actually going to be here in a few weeks to take his place and be a 2-time Hall of Famer. But ladies and gentlemen, our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame is a 2-time Hall of Famer, really because of his trail, his own unique style of hardcore wrestling. And looking at you, Stan, because certainly, Stan, this one's for you, Stan. So if you know, you know when it comes to the name Stan. Not even going to repeat the wrestler's name or sort of what he thought he could be wrestler's name, but Jake Matthews has done it all. Jake Matthews has put his body on the line time and time again because, as in the words of one of our fellow Hall of Famers, Hillbilly Tilly, our only general manager in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, true wrestlers do it for the love of this sport. Whether you like Jake Matthews or not, although if you are certainly a fan like I am of NEW these days, you probably don't like Jake Matthews. But the truth is that Jake Matthews has done it for the love of this sport. And that's why, to me, and everybody that's in our Hall of Fame, especially from the wrestling wing, is about all wrestling matters and is about their stamp that they've put onto this sport of wrestling. Because, ladies and gentlemen, everybody that is in our Hall of Fame has done it not so much because of what they earned in terms of monetary reasons, but they did it because they wanted to earn the respect of their peers that are in this sport. And Jake Matthews has done that. Whether you like him or not, as I stated, Jake Matthews has absolutely earned his right into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And before I do get into any other things about Mr. Matthews, and hopefully he's not related to Corey Matthews or Eric Matthews of the Boy Meets World series. I mean, after all, we did induct Jake Matthews at least before the Matthews brothers, but that's a different conversation for a different time. After all, there was once an episode of Boy Meets World where, well, Vader was on there, but we'll certainly not get into that. But Jake Matthews, ladies and gentlemen, he did it his own way, but also if you look at the body of work, there have been many people that have come on Sportswire Radio in my 5-year career. There are many Hall of Famers, obviously. But when we looked at the record books and we looked at the amount of championships that Jake Matthews has earned in his career, he actually might have won the most championships of any Hall of Famer that we have. So if we think about it, ladies and gentlemen, after all, he is from the New England area. Maybe we should be referring Jake Matthews as maybe not so much the best on the card, but the Tom Brady of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. Because if you think about it, he has won championship after championship, and we have a number of people who are in this Hall of Fame, which I'll point out. An individual named Jackson Law, who has traveled quite a bit in the world of backyard wrestling. He's won a lot of championships, but not as much as Jake Matthews. James Taylor, the nemesis James Taylor. He might have maybe the most followers, but he hasn't won the most championships. An individual named Anthony Steele, the real deal Anthony Steele, as he's called. Last I checked in the record books, he hasn't won as many championships as Jake Matthews. The natural born fighter R.P. Davis, the only person in the entire country of Britain to have won a boxing and a major world heavyweight championship from wrestling, definitely hasn't won more than 45 plus championships. Josh Fletcher, the owner and operator of XCW, not even close. That's one for you. Justin Parsley, two-time Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer, with all due respect, hasn't won as many championships as Jake Matthews. We can go up and down the list. Omen Black, Soldier GP, maybe Omen Black show, but still hasn't won 45 plus championships. Dean Allmark only defeated Jushin Thunder Liger, Bryan Danielson, friends with Gangrel. Need I say any more? He hasn't won 45 plus championships. So maybe while we call Jake Matthews the best on the card, should we call him the best Hall of Famer in Sportswire radio history? I mean, that's up for you tonight to debate. And I'm sure that there are Hall of Famers watching this show tonight, maybe a few of them personally, that maybe they'll have an opinion on that. Certainly stay tuned. But ladies and gentlemen, Jake Matthews also put his biggest footprint in the world of wrestling currently for the company that he actually owns in NEW Underground Wrestling. They may call themselves Nonstop Entertainment, but I call them new and improved way to look at wrestling. A new and improved way to think about hardcore, underground, semi-pro, and all forms of wrestling. Because after all, we champion all wrestling matters. And if you think about the company of NEW and what it's done, putting on a show each and every week called Vortex, which has given people the opportunity to continue to go out there in the ring. When many companies in the backyard or in the underground, well, they have to hit the bricks and go for the offseason. Jake Matthews' vision has actually led NEW to continue and almost be like the Energizer Bunny that keeps on going and going and going and going and going. And it's kind of like my speech tonight, right? I keep going and going and going. But I promise you, we're going to let Mr. Matthews speak very soon. But the facts are, ladies and gentlemen, a company like NEW, all the success that it's had, despite that, it might actually have its biggest success coming. Because of Jake Matthews' vision, ladies and gentlemen, there is a one-day tournament, which is going to give people an opportunity from all forms of wrestling, all backgrounds, and all over the United States, if they desire to do that, to participate in the Riot in the Ring, which will certainly crown who really is the true hardcore Riot in the Ring, maybe in the United States and elsewhere. And it's already attracted a who's who of people to enter and participate, including some names you've probably heard of. Doc Holliday, living legend. I mean, Doc Holliday is a name that even Rad Dad Radley Belmont from GTS actually had a few things to say about. Gabe Sayers, and, I have to mention Gabe because, of course, Gabe is the reason why, well, Jake Matthews is in the Hall of Fame. So we have to mention Mr. Matthews, although apparently an egg roll has led to D Savage getting a championship shot at the TF Crew YouTube Championship. But I'm not going to bore people asking Mr. Matthews about that, but Mr. Matthews, I'm sure, doesn't want to talk about that either. But a who's who of people are in the Riot in the Ring, including a man I actually know very well called Stephen Havoc. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, Jake Matthews' vision has opened the doors up. When wrestling companies in the backyard, the independent, the undergrounds, and elsewhere talk about, yeah, we want to open the forbidden door. We don't want to have any more politics. We want to just get straight to the point. Jake Matthews is actually saying, you know what, figuratively and literally, I'm giving anybody an opportunity that wants it, but also has to truly prove that they're hardcore. Not just talk the talk, but walk the walk, if they can hopefully walk after the match and get through it. But, ladies and gentlemen, when you think about the journey of Jake Matthews, as I say time and time again, as I said for many of the previous Sportswire Radio Hall of Famers, his journey is certainly as unique as everybody else's. And that's why he's here today. But not also he's here today, but also to talk about the future. And you think about one more time the company of NEW, New Underground Wrestling, and they have show after show with thousands upon thousands of views, and they have attracted a following and a respected following. And I think the word respect, at the end of the day, when you look at Jake Matthews and you look at where he stands, not only here in Sportswire Radio's Hall of Fame, but across the wrestling scene, that's the one word that should sum him up: respect. Because he has been one of those wrestlers that has been able to evolve, adapt with the times, and continue to stay as relevant as anybody has ever been, from somebody who started like Jake Matthews did all the way back in those early YouTube days. I mean, I would certainly like to be a fly on the wall when you were uploading those YouTube channels back in 2007, 2008. But certainly the points are is that Jake Matthews, in the word respect, should certainly go hand in hand in the dictionary, or also when it comes to not only backyard wrestling and underground wrestling, but also all wrestling that matters, and also in our Sports Wire Radio Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, as your master of ceremonies and the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sports Wire Radio, where all wrestling matters, and your voice of all wrestling, the Reverend Tom Bryce. I could certainly go on and on and on about Jake Matthews, and I promise you I probably will. And also, I want to point out, I actually put my uniform on just for Jake because I've got his shirt on, because I actually said on the air I would wear his shirt. But it's not about that. It's about the journey of a man and to celebrate this man, even though many in NEW right now really want to hurt this man. And after all, Mr. D. Savage had a lot to say about that. And I'll talk about the current events here in a second, but we'll definitely get to that. But tonight, at least for a little while longer, is a celebration of a man that has earned his place in the Hall of Fame. And I hope to see him in many other Hall of Fames, and I hope to see him many times over inducted into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, because after all, Redux could very well have multiple championships in their possessions by about 48 hours from now. But I think it's time to officially induct our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, and our third member of our seventh class, and the 63rd member. And by the way, 63 is a pretty historic number, because if you're a fan of baseball, after all, it wasn't too long ago that Aaron Judge had set the American League record for home runs in a single season. Some would say the Major League Baseball record for home runs in a single season, surpassing Roger Maris, of course, the famed late great New York Yankees slugger. And Jake Matthews has definitely slugged a number of his own opponents in the ring. And, let's not give him too many ideas coming up this weekend. Well, you'll have to find out anyway. But the fact is, Jake Matthews does share a number 63, an important number, and it's kind of an historic number here. And it's certainly better than number 69, as some people have joked, in being inducted into the Hall of Fame. But we are a family show. But also, it could be before I'm about to give Jake Matthews that big introduction that he's waiting for, I'm waiting for, in the world is, it's probably the best week of his life, because also, if you've been following him on social media, he's about to be soon a married man. So I certainly won't be able to top that, but I'll certainly try my best to formally induct and congratulate the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, our 63rd member, and our third member of our seventh class, the 2024 Born to Battle briefcase holder, a man who won the most championships of any Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer, Mr. Jake Matthews. And Jake, before I formally give you that introduction and congratulate, it's time for what I've been waiting for as your master of ceremonies. You've been waiting for it, and the world is. So let's get right to it. Before we give you that Hall of Fame speech that you want to share, let's give you that introduction that the world is waiting for here on Sports Wire Radio Live, where all wrestling matters. So with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one, Global Sports Show, the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, our third member of our seventh class, and our 63rd member, the 2024 NEW Born to Battle briefcase holder from the group Redux. He is the best on the card, Congratulations, my friend. You're the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much, Tom. Pleasure to be here.
I feel like that might have, I don't know if somebody will clock me, but that might have actually been my longest one today. It was 16 and a half minutes. I'm trying to think. I might have had one at 17. Somebody will definitely check it. I did that one, by the way. I didn't rehearse. Sometimes I do the speeches and I like have it written down. And I didn't do this one. And I feel like this was my best one today. But obviously, there's a lot of comments, a lot of people watching right now, 70 people watching. And we're going to certainly try to see if we'll get more people to watch compared with D Savage out there live on Twitter. Twitter's been great for us lately. But I do want to ask you this. I ask everybody else before we get to some other things and the current events and maybe even address some other people out there, which I kind of lovingly mentioned in different ways here. But I want to ask you, Jake, for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters, and Jake Matthews, what does it mean to you now to be the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame?
Well, it's just another thing that helps me cement my legacy in the history of wrestling. All wrestling matters, and especially the career of Jake Matthews. Now, with being in the Hall of Fame of Sportswire, just another thing off my long list of accomplishments. And I do want to say thank you, Tom, for inducting me here. Great speech. It might be the best.
Well, I did work some things. I thought about it. And I actually think you might have won the most championships of any of the Hall of Famers. And I'm thinking about it. You have RP Davis, Dean Allmark. I have a guy that actually played in the NCAA Final Four, my good buddy from Brooklyn, Danny Burns. And I have certainly, Josh Fletcher, Justin Parsley. I have Atomic Titan, Josh Allen. I mean, we can go up and down the list. And I was thinking about, I actually do think maybe you are the best Hall of Famer in overall championships. I mean, congratulations on that. I was thinking about it. That's why I asked you before when we were off the air. I'm like, how many championships have you won exactly? And we were kind of talking about this. Like, you know what? I kind of knew that's why I kind of went with that. So I think you have won the most championships of any of the Hall of Famers that we have. That's kind of a pretty neat fact there.
Oh, definitely. It definitely goes on to why I am one of the best in backyard, semi-pro, underground, whatever type of wrestling. Jake Matthews is the best on the card.
And this one's for you, Stan, by the way. This one's for you, Stan, because, Stan, you wanted it, but you didn't get it. You didn't deserve it, but Jake definitely deserved it. But obviously, I'll get to some comments here in a second. But, it's interesting because you actually are a two-time Hall of Famer. And I thought it was so kind of funny that, you actually got inducted by Power Surge. And we're going to get a lot about Power Surge. We're going to talk a lot about that in the current events. But obviously, we had this year, and this was, I think, certainly a different induction. But I also thought it was important to note that you actually were the best heel in season 4. And you kind of, showcased those skills. And you kind of transformed. Is also the best week probably of your life. I mean, this is certainly not going to top what's happened in the personal life, but I do want to formally say congratulations on your engagement to your beautiful other half, and obviously soon to be Mrs. Matthews. So does that make her like the best wife in the world, or does that make her like you're, certainly, the born to battle briefcase holder, the best in the ring, but that would have to make her the best wife in the future, right?
She is nodding her head yes, so she's.
I was trying to think of something funny there. I think I kind of got it, but it's crazy. You had quite a week. I mean, you have Stay Alive coming up, and Redux might have the greatest weekend ahead, and you guys have been on top. And I don't know. I mean, I asked D Savage these questions in a way. I mean, I hope you're not like this is all getting to your head, because this is some week you've had. By the way, this is some week. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I can top this one for you. I mean, I can probably give you another induction at some point down the road, but I mean, I don't know. That's all I gotta say. It's some week for you. Is this the best week of your life?
It's definitely shaping up to be. Got engaged. I'm into the Hall of Fame, and then on Monday, when I come back from vacation, go back to my personal life job. I start a new job and got promoted there as well. So
congratulations.
Has been very good.
Wow.
So Stay Alive. Gonna go right in there with the momentum that I have. Whether it's going 1-on-1 against Zero, whether Rhea Silver magically comes back, doesn't matter. I'm going to keep this momentum going. Whether Zero wins or I win, no hard feelings. Redux will walk out as champion. And I mean, if worse comes to worse and I might have a bad night, I can make it a good night, if you know what I mean.
Let me ask you though. Let me ask you though a side note, and we're gonna certainly talk more. I want to present to you something on the screen. I have a bunch of comments. I know there are some different wrestling companies that have some shows out there, and one of the guys is actually checked in. I want to say hello to all of them, and I did want to ask you though, in terms of the week that you've had, right? And obviously, going into Saturday, for whatever happens with you, is there pressure at all in any way possible for you, because you've had such an amazing week, engagement, job promotion, here with us once again in the Hall of Fame? And, should the cards play the way it is and you have a match with Zero basically to decide the hardcore championship, is it going to be pressure at all to kind of continue this or top what's happened with Saturday? I'm just curious on that.
Definitely a little bit of pressure. Yeah, I mean, I could walk out with 2 titles, but I could also walk out with just my briefcase. I don't know. There's a lot of different options I can play out this weekend. I could beat Zero 1-on-1, win the hardcore title. Maybe if I'm feeling a lot more better, I'll go out there later, maybe before the main event, stop that match from happening, or come in after the match and then create a new main event, going where I belong in the main event. However, definitely a lot of pressure, a lot of momentum that I need to keep riding into this weekend. Whether Rhea Silver returns, whether it's Zero, I'm going to walk out there like it's my last match, go in there, win the hardcore championship for the second time in NEW, and walk out and Stay Alive, enjoying my weekend with a new title in my hand.
Let me ask you, though, a side question, because you kind of referenced the undisputed title match. We were speaking a little bit about that off the air, and I kind of wasn't sure to phrase it. I won't ask you about that match specifically, but what I will ask you is, obviously, you're not going to tell us what you're going to do at the briefing. It would make no sense at all, because you're live and we have almost 100 people watching us now, so it makes zero sense to do that, right? But not to quote Zero, obviously, in Redux, but will you be, let's say, potentially, and we'll talk a lot more about Rhea in a few minutes, but if Rhea does come back Saturday, will that change how you hold the briefcase, whether it's Saturday or in general, because you wouldn't get that hardcore title match?
Well, I mean, I am the owner of NEW after all. If I want a title match, I could always just say, for the hard.
No, I understand that, but you obviously have the briefcase, and you correctly point out you could have multiple championships, but if she doesn't obviously compete and return on Saturday, you've got the hardcore match, which is fine. Yep. You can decide that from there. Okay, you've got a plan. You've had the match. If you walk away with the belt, if you want to, certainly, like you said, do whatever you want in the undisputed title match between Spade and Justin Abel, saying you're welcome to. But if she comes back, that's a different discussion almost. I mean, I'm just on that. I mean, I know it's something you haven't thought about, because obviously, she's not here. There's no reason to talk about something. And I asked D Savage the same question, and D Savage was like, well, I have to worry about my match. In a way, it's maybe kind of the same thing for you, regardless of the semantics of why Ray is out. You have to assume that you're having a match with Zero, right? You have to assume that this Saturday you're having a match with Zero. That's why I kind of was wondering that question at all.
Well, you see, even if Rhea Silver does walk back into this match between me and Zero, might as well make it a triple threat match at that point. And if she knew what was best for her, she wouldn't come here. However, whether she shows up or she doesn't, it's always going to be a match between me and Zero, because her in the equation doesn't really matter when there's two members of Redux and one of her. So if she was smart, and something tells me she isn't, she should just stay home.
So
However, it will not stop me or change my outlook, whether or if not, I'm cashing in on Stay Alive. Saying Spade, doesn't matter who it is. It could be Savage if he wins the belt. It could be anybody. Gabe Sayers. If Gabe Sayers
I feel like every show on Sportswire now, for whatever reason, Gabe Sayers comes up. It's like, I don't know what it is. Should I just let Gabe Sayers just be mentioned permanently on Sportswire?
I mean, you might as well just have him as a co-host at this point.
And he actually does podcasting. I mean, he does stuff with Mario Mancini and Paul Roma. I mean, he loves to stream. So, I mean, at this point, Gabe's a better looking guy than me, and Gabe's got more fans. So, I mean, I should certainly go there. But we're only kidding. We love Gabe. Gabe's obviously been a great friend off the air, but it's not about Gabe. But reason I bring it up is because, again, you're obviously going into Saturday, assuming it's just you and Zero, right? You're obviously going into Saturday with that, though. You're not. So that's why I was asking, should she return? And even and my point was with D Savage, he was even saying, I can't worry about what happens. I have to worry about my situation. So you're obviously, though, planning for Saturday, even though it would certainly be a lot more friendly terrain by going against Zero, because obviously you guys are Redux, but certainly it would change the equation of just what you thought about with the briefcase. That's all my point was. Not saying to go into anything with that, but you have a different equation of anybody else that holds a briefcase, because of the fact you don't even have to do anything with the briefcase. You can still go into another match, and you will say you have this match Saturday. You claim the hardcore title, but if you don't have the match because of Rhea, then maybe you go into a different direction. That's just a reason. Again, there's a lot of what ifs here. We'll obviously find out 48 hours from now, and you'll be back on before the next big show next month, and I'm sure we'll have a chat about it. But that's fair enough. Let me get to some comments. A lot of people want to say hello, and I want to present to you something before we come back to some stuff in NEW, because there's a lot to get into here. But first of all, hashtag GOAT, greatest of all time. I think in the Sportswire Hall of Fame, I mean, again, he is kind of the Tom Brady. I mean, he's a New England guy. I mean, not to really go down that road, but I mean, I rattled off a lot of names that are in the Hall of Fame, and he's got more championships than Omen Black, Soldier GP, James Taylor, Anthony Steele, Jackson Law, who's won, like, if you're a backyard wrestling fan, he's won probably like, I think it's like 42 championships now or something like that. And you've won more than him even. I mean, there's a who's who of people in the Hall. If I mentioned RP Davis, I mentioned Jam Dog in the UK, 20-year veteran. He's a world champion. You've won more titles than him. Dean Allmark. I mean, Dean Allmark is a guy that was in TNA once upon a time. We have a lot of different people from all backgrounds, and you actually might be the GOAT of the Hall of Famers. So, I mean, put that on the list. I mean, but also, I think I know who this individual is here. I got an idea. Put the title on me. I think I know who the individual is here, but it ain't certainly a Soup Kitchen person that's commenting. But if you are the Soup Kitchen, thank you for tuning in, and hit that sub button for us on Sportswire Radio 6579. Plus, I've got some links I'm going to put up on the screen here, and there. Somebody liked my egg roll mentioned, but I should have probably asked D Savage about the egg roll. But then again, I'm thinking because D Savage's dog was next to him, my part of me thought that the dog ate the egg roll afterwards, because the dog I think the dog didn't want D Savage's on Sportswire. So probably as much as you didn't want him on Sportswire, but I think certainly the dog, I think his dog Samson was basically like from the very beginning, he wanted his father to get off Sportswire. Kind of like I said, you probably didn't want him on Sportswire. So there you have it. But Egg Rolls Bay. Yep, everybody says Bay. And want to say hello to Craven Rage. We'll certainly, I'm sure, have him back down the road on Sportswire. I appreciate that. Thank you for putting the nice words. And yes, Jake, to me, it's about respect. And I think that his career, as a yarder, undergrounder, semi-pro. I mean, I really, to me, all these names should really be put in the all wrestling category to me because that's why I mentioned, if I could for a second, that's why I mentioned Stan, because some people go, they want to, yeah, I want to challenge, yeah, and then you know what, they don't want to step up to somebody for whatever reasons, whether it's because they're a coward, which they probably are, whether it's because they are posers, whatever it might be. But I really truly think, to me, at least on this platform, as I always say it, I try to recognize everybody in the same way as much as humanly possible. Because again, to me on Sportswire, that's what we're about. People that deserve to go out there and put their bodies on the line. Like my buddy Hillbilly Tilly, our only general manager in the Hall of Fame, has so eloquently stated when he wrestled his final match in the yard over a ago, is that true wrestlers and true backyarders do it for the love of wrestling. And this man, he did that, and that's why he's here today. He is next to Mick Foley. Well, he can still wrestle because Mick Foley came on Instagram and said that he's not having one more match at the age of 60. So obviously, Mick Foley is certainly going to continue to be on Instagram and cameos. But Jake Matthews, thankfully, isn't charging us $99 for a cameo. But stay tuned. He's now the best Hall of Famer of all time. So he might change his tune on that. Congratulations. It might have been my record in terms of time, but I'm sure somebody will check. Want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. Big Tex. I know DBW's return, Dominant Breakout Wrestling. They've had their first show of the season right now, Thursday Night Thunder Punch. I'll have more coverage for that in the next week or two. I will be watching that after I'm off the air, but thank you, Big Tex, for tuning in. I know he'll be back here. My prediction, Jake will steal a moment making history. Well, that's interesting. Okay, that's a clever take. I'll say that. I know who this individual is, and I want to say, not this person. I already had him up. I know who this is. Hello, I was wrong comment, but that's okay. That's my trigger happy fingers. And Mr. Hillbilly, too, who, by the way, next week in your chair, I have another Hall of Famer, Mr. ADT, who's the AWL new heavyweight champion. Get it? AWL new. He was actually, funny name, he was actually the new division champion, but not NEW. He was the new division champion, but now he's just the AWL heavyweight champion of the world once again. So the irony, wrestling is such a small world. You're obviously the owner of NEW, which is New Underground Wrestling or Nonstop Entertainment. If you still prefer, I say it's the new form of hardcore other wrestling, and ADT was the new division champion. So there you go. But that's a different take for a different I'm working on stand-up comedy these days. But closing in on the weekend, yes, we are. Evening, gentlemen. Always love to hear about a fellow hardcore wrestler, and congrats on your induction. And AWL had some great shows in the past few weeks. They are getting ready for more of them, and they've got some new stuff that we're going to be talking about next week on the show, because we have back-to-back appearances with ADT, and then to basically be in your chair and go into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame next Friday, the good guy, CJ Black, a guy who's defeated Jack Delta twice, but hasn't won 45-plus championships, though. So, hasn't won 45-plus championships, but we're going to certainly give him his moment. He has definitely earned it, and it's been a long time overdue, but we'll get to all of that here next week. Jake Matthews, I could go on and on and on, but I'd be remiss if I did not present to you something, Jake Matthews, that the other Hall of Famers, like Hillbilly Tilly, have gotten in, like ADT have gotten in, some guy named Anthony Steele has gotten, and some other people. So I wanted to present to you something that would officially show that you were actually in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, only if you would insist. I know it's been the greatest week of your life. You're getting married, job promotion, you got a briefcase, could have 2 championships, maybe 3 championships by Saturday, but would you like me to present something on the screen that would maybe officially recognize you as a Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer?
Everything about me wanting to be an asshole will say, no, don't do it, just to rip the fans. But you know what? I'm in a good mood. Let's do it.
It's funny. It's actually real. Before you do that, I'm actually waiting one day for actually somebody on the air to say, no, I don't want it. I'm like kind of waiting for that moment, but it actually hasn't happened. But I think really before anything, when I do the Hall of Fame induction, we certainly talk a lot in current. We love current events on Sportswire, but I really don't do it for those. I really do it to recognize you. So you have to almost say yes, really, because we're not really like, it's not a storyline. It's just really to recognize you. But there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. You've got my John Hancock. You've got today's date. You got the logo. You got your name. And you are the 63rd member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. I'll make sure that you certainly have the certificate when we're off the air, the physical copy. And congratulations, my friend. And there you go. You're officially in the history books there.
Thank you. Much appreciated. I'll be sure to print that out and put that in the briefcase along with the other certificate I got from you.
Well, I have a funny question, real quick. You'll probably answer. You could answer this whatever you want, but I actually used to have it. I actually do have a briefcase somewhere, and for whatever reason, you're gonna chuckle. I'm sure you've never had this problem. I actually lost the key to open it, so I have a really fancy briefcase. I bought it years ago, and I can't open the briefcase. I forgot what's in there, so it's not $1 million, not quite, but there's probably some important documents somewhere in them. But I have to ask you that you ever forget to open the briefcase with like a key?
So I don't use the key for this one, honestly. Only time I will go ahead and open this is when I'm taking out the certificate or putting it.
I see. I see. I just was wondering. Somebody should ask. Did anybody ask Damian Priest that question? I think people should have asked him that. Do you ever like have a problem opening the briefcase or forgetting the key? I know. I just didn't realize anybody never asked that. But I have a question from Craven Rage. Let him ask this question. This is a good one. You've had a lot of moments in your career. I think we've answered it before, but we'll play along and I'll ask it to you anyway. But he would like to say, what's your toughest challenge of your career?
Power Surge. I mean, take a look
I
at
don't
him.
blame you on that. I don't blame you on that.
Take a look at him. He can do a mix of everything. He can do.
Did you see his latest video, by the way, on Instagram? I mean, seriously, he was like lifting. It looked like these, barbells, and it was almost like these. It was almost like he was lifting them like candy. It was like, oh, I think that would probably be weighed more than me, and he was just doing it like it was nothing.
Exactly. No, I was with him. I used to work with him when he used to live with me back.
Okay.
But I was with him a few days this past week. He was actually there to witness the proposal. So
Congratulations.
So it was a nice life moment with one of my fellow brothers, Redux members, Power Surge. But yeah, Power Surge has been the most toughest person I ever stepped into the ring with. Physically, I mean, if you look at him,
Listen, like I said, I just referenced his video on Instagram, and I was like, okay, yeah, he looks like he could probably lift me, and it would be like he'd just do it over his head almost like 50 times over. I mean, D Savage was here yesterday. He makes D Savage look like he should probably not show up Saturday.
If I was Savage, I wouldn't. But
I'm gonna ask you about that for sure. But I was real fascinated on this because you're one of the first people I've had on, at least in a while. I'm sure somewhere down the road, if I went back in the history books, I've had somebody on that was about to get married. But does that put a new perspective on your career, or how you look at wrestling by getting engaged and about to be married? I'm just curious on that. I don't want to go into the weeds of that moment, but in terms of your career, does that reflect in any way how you look at things differently?
Yeah, I mean, you're always going out there risking your life. I mean, whether you're pro train, backyard,
Absolutely.
There's always a risk. And I've always said this to Power Surge, Zero, and my girlfriend that if I end up, my girlfriend ends up being pregnant. Well, not my fiance. She ends up being
yeah, you got to make sure it's fiance now because she's probably a lot of people watching right now.
It's hard to remember to say fiance instead of girlfriend now. But if I were to ever find out my fiance was pregnant, I would start wrapping things up within wrestling. I'm not one of those people who want to be out there when I'm 40 years old. I don't want to be walking around half crippled, middle age in life. It's not something that I want to keep doing forever. But if I were to have a family be started, it would definitely making everything start wrapping up for me in the ring, and I'd definitely leave as soon as I was able to. That way I could spend the rest with my family.
Well, we obviously want to say let the future certainly sort itself out, but we hope to see you in the ring for a long time. So let's certainly put that out there that, we love seeing you out there. We love everybody out there in the ring, and I couldn't agree more. Everybody that goes out there, to me, it doesn't matter whether they're pro-trained in the yard or not. They're doing it for the love of this sport, and that's why we love everybody. And I want people, actually, since you're here, I have a lot of new people out there on Twitter and elsewhere, Twitch as well. Thank you to all the Twitch people recently. If you'd like to follow NEW, please do that here on the link right here, because we have put it up in the description, but I wanted to make sure people see that you can obviously follow the guys and all the great stuff ahead. And you have a lot of shows that Stay Alive is coming up here this week, and Anti Everything was last month. So please go out and support this company. They're doing a lot of great things. They're closing in on about 2,000 subscribers. We're also having a big event here coming up on June the 1st called Riot in the Ring. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters. And we're here with our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. He very well may be the most successful and the best of the Hall of Famers. His name is Mr. Jake Matthews. And if you're here on Sportswire Radio, I hope you hit that sub button for us on Sportswire Radio 6579. We're on Twitch at Sportswire Radio, Twitter at Thomas Price 2017, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We have an internet radio station, which is heard via the Listen Live button at sportswireradio.org. If you have a podcast, you have live music, or any suggestions, we will play it here free of charge. I do that to give back to the community. Anybody that wants to be heard and wants to learn the business and all those different things, just like you go out in the ring, I give people that opportunity to have their podcast shared in a larger audience. And we had a great honor to have heard our buddy TBK interview James Barris, also on our Hall of Fame. Of course, James Barris is the owner of Colory Championship Wrestling, just like you are the owner of NEW Underground Wrestling. He is the owner of our beloved UK wrestling company, Colory Championship Wrestling. We had a great offer to play that here. It was a great opportunity, and we certainly want to hear more on Sportswire Radio. We'll have more coverage coming up here this weekend because I'm going to actually call a match live on the air. And I'm going to have the guys that actually wrestled the match live with us, and it's going to be Justin Parsley and Michael Christian. Justin Parsley, a two-time Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer. I'm sure Mr. Matthews will join him, I'm sure, one day soon as a two-time Hall of Famer. And Mr. Parsley is wrestling in XCW for their All Access channel against Michael Christian, who actually retired his once stepfather. It was once his stepfather. Now it's just referee Festus Davis at XCW. And the guys are going to be here. And I'm going to call the match live. So if you want to hang out 10 o'clock Eastern time this Saturday, you have any other suggestions, any other questions, if you want me to call your match or anything else, I'm happy to do that here live. So let me know and let us know your thoughts in the comments and more. But right now, we are here with the best in the card and maybe the best Hall of Famer in terms of championships. He's won the most of any Hall of Famer. He is the 2024 Born to Battle briefcase holder, Mr. Jake Matthews. And I'm going to take this off the screen for now because we've seen enough plugs. And let's put the screen up bigger. So, Jake, obviously, we talked a lot about the Hall of Fame stuff. Let's get to business. Business is going to be a big weekend for Redux. We kind of talked a little bit about you and Zero, but obviously the news that everybody is talking about, figuratively and literally, I would say in the yard, this is one of the biggest matches I think anybody's going to see, pound for pound. You got Power Surge and D Savage. Power Surge, he's your best friend. He's your brother practically. And he was here a couple of weeks ago. And this man, I don't think I've ever seen anything like him of anybody I've covered, not just in the backyard. I mean, I've had guys come on here, like I said, RP Davis, Rick Marcus. I've had on guys, the Tribal Cheese, Hybrid, but there is nobody like Power Surge, in my opinion. Mr. Judgment, I'll throw him in there. Bentley, Disciple, but Power Surge and D Savage. It's the rematch. D Savage had a little bit to say. I mean, obviously, what do you think? And kind of maybe any other thoughts you want to share on this match that I think is probably going to be literally the biggest match that we're going to see to date, maybe ever in the yard.
Yeah, I was watching that interview that you did with him earlier. He said it's a relief to him that D Savage won't have to pin Power Surge, acting like making him tap out or knocking out Power Surge is easier. There's something wrong with D Savage, maybe more than one. However, there's no doubt in my mind that Power Surge is going to hold that Northeast Championship for a long time. You see, he's already almost coming up on a year. May 6, 2023 at Broken Dreams 2. He won the Northeast Championship by beating Tyson Spade. And since then, he's been making it one of the most prestigious championships ever in NEW. Something that Tyson Spade couldn't do, something that Justin Abel Sane couldn't do. None of them could do what Power Surge is doing right now. And if D Savage thinks that he's been wrestling for 8 months, he can take on Power Surge and knock him out or make him tap out, two things I haven't seen Power Surge ever do in my life, he has another thing coming.
You know, I wanted to ask you that. It's an interesting point because me and D Savage talked about it, but we didn't talk about it a lot. And you're obviously as much of a veteran as anybody that we've had on the platform. You've wrestled hundreds, if not thousands of matches. And D Savage has only had, I don't know, we're talking about not even 20 matches or so in the ring, give or take, right? We're talking in eight months, so we're talking a very, very small sample size compared to a Power Surge. In a match like this, I would have to think that the experience that the champion has, leave aside your relationship with him, leave aside the closeness that you have, the group that you share, but in a championship match like this, the veteran has far more of the upper hand than the rookie, right? I would think.
Yes. I mean, just going back to his prior matches, instead of finishing the job at the fatal four-way match, he had to brag and talk some smack, climbing up to the top of the rope right before he was able to jump onto the Power Surge and then possibly beat him. He waited. That is the inexperience of D Savage. He does not capitalize when he should. And that could be one thing that might take him out of this match. He's not capitalizing. He likes to talk smack. Power Surge goes in there, doesn't talk smack.
You don't need to. You don't need to.
His experience speaks for himself. His physique speaks
Exactly.
for himself.
No, listen, no question. But psychologically though, when you're a veteran and you've been in there and you've been established, Power Surge, well, not quite has the experience that you have, but in terms of the overall experience, far more of an advantage he has over D Savage. And I'm always curious because, again, I speak with a lot of people all over the world. I have a lot of wrestlers come on before championship matches. I know it's not quite your match, but in terms of, you obviously are watching the match because of just the history that you have between both guys. You've been in the ring with both guys. And I would think at the end of the day, in a situation like this, the challenger, you can't really overcome, or you can't kind of all of a sudden change the inexperience factor, and you really can't make up for time. And the champion can know when he makes a mistake and can correct it in a match. The champion, because he's the veteran, can know when something's not working or something's working. He can continue it to get where ultimately what he needs to do is to make D Savage submit or knock him out. So, I mean, in those situations, the challenger can't basically fake time. He can't change the inexperience. And what's your thoughts on all that?
I know, I completely agree. A Power Surge, like you said, he has the experience. He's able to switch when it needs to be switched. I mean, whether this match goes a little bit hardcore, he's able to switch to hardcore. With D Savage, he's only been wrestling. Yeah, he's wrestled some indie shows and some backyard shows, but still not the same experience as
No way. I mean, listen, Power Surge has also got some other life experiences. He's been,
Yeah.
a fitness instructor. He's competed in, bodybuilding competitions. So overall life experiences, Power Surge, even putting that counts for something. He's been in big moments. He's been in championship matches. And he's also been a champion here before in NEW. So he knows what it takes to win. I mean, D Savage talked about the fact, well, I played basketball and I was a basketball player, and, which is fine. But I don't think at the end of the day, and tell me your thoughts, because obviously you're here tonight, that experience playing basketball can necessarily fake or change or even help the fact hide the lack of experience you have in the ring. No?
No, I agree. I mean, the only thing that I'll probably give him is just the endurance of, just the agility running
He
back.
talked about training a little differently, right? He talked about those experiences, and that's helping him train. He's training better, he feels. Okay, I'll give you that.
I mean, however, at the end of the day, if he was going up against somebody other than Power Surge, that might play into a bigger role. But here's Power Surge, fitness instructor. He's a strong man. He competed plenty of times before, and he trains every single day. Yeah, as much as D Savage likes to say that he trains, he does not train as hard or as long or as more as Power Surge.
How could he? I mean, listen, Power Surge is literally a Power Surge, but leave aside that, he's basically a professional athlete.
Yeah.
You think about this, and you've obviously been a well-respected veteran, and you've been in this sport a long time. You've wrestled in different places before AEW. He is literally maybe the only true professional athlete that we have in a backyard ring. Think about that for a second. Think about that. That's a very, very unique situation or a unique circumstance that has to give him institutional advantages far more from anybody else. I know a guy, Dan Stofko, who's down the road, and it was a baseball player. Okay, fine, you're a baseball player, but he's only had a handful of matches in the ring. Power Surge has basically been a professional athlete for years. That has to give you an infinite amount of circumstances to help you in a match like this, and gives you, so much of an advantage just because you're bringing a unique situation and a circumstance going into a situation like this. I don't think there's anybody that has those uniquenesses like he has.
Yeah, I agree. He's definitely the toughest competitor I ever stepped in a ring with. He's the most different because
sure,
typical big guy, they're known for just doing powerhouse moves, but he can do it all. He knows the technical, hardcore, powerhouse. He's a striker. I mean, he has it all. He has the look, everything.
Sure.
Most, like you said, has to be the most athletic professional wrestler.
I don't think no, seriously. And this is obviously a tremendous compliment to, also it's a compliment to your company, by the way, in the fact that we have a professional athlete that wrestles here. Think about that, Laser. We have a lot of people come on the platform, and we love everybody that comes on here, but we have somebody that is actually, literally, a professional athlete in the backyard. I mean, there's nobody that can overcome that. There's nobody that can compete with those things. You cannot compare, even if you're the most veteran, you're the most, I don't know, technical yarder, whatever you want to call the term, you still can't compare or even do anything that's near to what this man has accomplished.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, me and him, when we are going into Star Clash 3, we didn't see eye to eye going in, and here I am. I thought I was choosing a match stipulation that would work to my advantage, bringing him into his first ever death match. He's not known for being a hardcore guy.
We spoke about that here. We were on the air. Yep.
Challenged him, put the stipulation as a death match, and he overcame and he beat me. He won the Undisputed Championship, holding his second Undisputed Championship reign in NEW by beating me at Star Clash in the death match. I mean, that was his first ever death match. He overcame that, adapted, and was able to beat me. I mean, he can do literally anything and everything that he wants to in that ring if you put his mind to it.
I think there's no question about that here. We're going to put some more plugs up here for NEW in a few minutes. So obviously he talked about, though, D Savage, that he's working and studying some Bret Hart footage to kind of compare with some of the technical stuff. But what did you make of that before I get to another question, which is going back to Rhea Silver? But I mean, what do you make of all that?
Savage, you can sit there and watch, practice, and try to be as good as he will ever be, but he will still never be ready to go into a match with Power Surge, because like I said, Power Surge can adapt to anything. So once you think you're one step ahead of him, Surge is 2 steps ahead of you. So I don't see Savage, with the experience he has and the person he's going up against, I just don't see it being a good night to be D Savage at Stay Alive.
Let me ask you this other question. If you're here on Instagram right now and you have a chance, whether you're on YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, please support our friends at New Underground Wrestling. And they've got a weekly show every week called Vortex, which is going to be airing tomorrow. And Stay Alive is the big shows this Saturday. And here's some of the matches on the card, some of the stuff here. It's some great graphics, by the way. Big shout out to our buddy, Mr. DG Colt, who is a big fan of us here on Sportswire. And he shares many of the same friends. And of course, that includes NEW. So please support NEW in any way you can. Make sure you support them. They've got some great stuff ahead. And we're going to certainly talk about more of that here in a few minutes. And I want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. Ethan Sorensen. We're doing great. I have inducted Mr. Jake Matthews, maybe the best Hall of Famer to date in the Hall of Fame. He is the number 63, and he is kind of our Tom Brady in the number of championships he won. But, I also want to bring up, though, in a side point before I come back to Rhea Silver, is the fact that D Savage did talk about the fact that once upon a time, he took the tag team championships away. And he took those championships away, and that included Power Surge. And he's counting on that, and he's using that as kind of his momentum and his hope that can be able to give him the ability to take another championship away from Power Surge. And that's kind of what he's holding his hat, you might want to say. What do you make of that and some of the things he said, that he's already taken 1 championship away from Power Surge, and he's going to make it 2 championships he takes away from him this Saturday?
I consider that all talk. You
Uh-huh.
see, you got the tag team titles. That means two other people was in the match.
Right.
Unless you didn't tag yourself in and out of the match and you're claiming that you did all the work, I mean, that doesn't compare you to doing a one-on-one match. You can tag in and out. Your tag team partner can come beat down Power Surge, could have came down, beat down Zero, vice versa. So until D Savage can prove himself and beat Power Surge one-on-one, I don't consider that an accomplishment. Tag team titles, congratulations, kid. You know, I mean, if you look at the history of tag team titles, most of the roster has been a tag team champion.
Well, he talked about it, that it meant something to him. He talked about the fact that it did mean something to him in his career. It was the first championship of any sort that he won. He had
I'll clap
spoke.
for him. I'll clap for him.
Listen. You've won a lot of them. I mean, if I went through every single one of them, I would probably still be listing them at 2 hours from now. I get that, but I guess in a way he has to have something that gives him some confidence. It's almost kind of in a way. Everybody in sports, we going back to the sports references. He played sports obviously as well. Power Surge is basically a professional athlete. There was something that he could hold his hat on and kind of say, you know what? There was a moment where we were in a ring fighting for something and I won. And that's kind of what he's, building on to kind of get him through this and maybe even rematch here in terms of making it even in terms of the numbers.
No, I do agree. However, if we go back to the first one-on-one match, we look, Power Surge was the one who defeated D Savage one-on-one.
Correct.
So, I mean, I guess anything can happen. There's always this thing called a fluke. There's always considered a lucky day. I mean, it could possibly be a lucky day for D Savage. However, the forecast over in Redux considers Power Surge having a 99.9% chance of winning. So I don't see that happening.
So I guess the running joke would be this Saturday when we all watch, by the way, you're going to watch it on the NEW YouTube channel. We're on Instagram here, so you can actually get the link right through here before I say hello to somebody else, is that basically it's going to be the forecast, not only for D Savage, but for anybody else that gets in Redux his way is basically for you, it's going to be cloudy with a near 100% chance of heavy thunderstorms with strong Power Surge like winds, right?
Exactly. Couldn't have
My mother used to always say when I was in school, I should have been a weatherman, and I had the voice for it, but I didn't go into weather. But I'm here on Sportswire, so close enough. But okay, so I got enough on that. Obviously, D Savage spoke a lot. Both guys, I'll imagine, will be on here, and I want to spend a couple of minutes on Rhea Silver before I get to something else, which might. I'm sure somebody listening to this will probably have a keen vested interest in on, but I'm going to take a step back from that for a second, but ask you on Rhea Silver. Now, we spoke a little bit about that. D Savage, in a different way, was also rather, he had some strong words for you about that attack. And he talked about that it wasn't cool. That was the words he used. It wasn't cool. And there's a way to go about things. And, you really haven't cared much about what he has said. And you've even continued to say that Redux is here and Redux is stronger than ever. And, there's really nobody to get in your guys' ways. And, I'm sure you caught those comments. But ironically enough, at the same time, D Savage isn't fighting for Rhea. He isn't fighting for family. He's fighting for his own battles. But what did you make of some of that? And, do you still feel the same way about the attack on Rhea Silver after you had won the Born to Battle briefcase and such, and just where we are from that?
You see, Rhea Silver was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. You see, the fans kept on cheering for Rhea, and I just got sick of it. I decided to do something that would benefit the fans, benefit Redux, and benefit anybody who cares about wrestling, is to attempt to end the career of Rhea Silver. Because realistically, you see two people there, Power Surge and Rhea Silver. Who would you want to click and watch before the other? Power Surge. No one wants to watch Rhea Silver. No one wants to watch Rhea Silver. So realistically, I did them all a favor. They might not understand it now, but I did them a favor. I still stand by what I did, because whether it was Rhea Silver, Tyson Spade, Justin Abel Sane, we are going through the whole entire roster and proving a point and taking out the trash. Rhea Silver was just the first in line. D Savage, I mean, He says he is up next. I mean, he might be the next in line to get concussed. He might be the next in line to get their neck broken and just unfortunately can't come back around. But Ray Silver was just the first on our list. We still have to get to Tyson Spade. I'm sure Leonidas. D Savage's turn is Saturday.
Chris Chandler, you guys did a number on at Vortex last week. I mean, you
Listen, Chris
know,
Chandler is always here and he's not here and he's not. He's always coming back, throwing out an open challenge to a random match on the card.
sounds like people, like random people that come on Sportswire. Yeah, I want to challenge
It's,
people, and and
it's
we had one guy come on here and it was like, "Oh, I'm the whatever champion for like 300 days," and they challenged this guy who's in the Hall of Fame, Anthony Steele, and then like you watched his match, and with all due respect, his ring abilities were not the same as a veteran wrestler, and that's what people do. It's
I do suspect that I do know which person you're talking
yeah,
about.
I don't want, they're going to come on my platform next weekend. So I'm really trying to be very diplomatic about that because somebody will be out there and you said this. So I'm trying, and I have the term all wrestling matters out there. So I really want to be respectful. But the point is that no regrets on Rhea Silver. Power Surge is going to basically put a number and a thumping on D Savage. D Savage is going to join Rhea Silver, and you don't think Rhea Silver's coming back at all anytime soon. Basically, that's to sum that up.
If she's smart, she would just stay home, do exactly what all the fans do, watch from the computer, post about it on social media, and complain.
Okay, all right. I respect that. Obviously, it's a fair statement on some of the things. But so basically, who's left then for Redux? I mean, will there be just nobody left, and you guys will just go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, almost like an old Degeneration X skit? I mean, was that the plan?
I mean, it's kind of funny that you mentioned. I was like walking around headquarters today, and then I stumbled upon something, and I don't know. I don't know who could be next in line, or just like what is the next plan for Redux. I don't know. After Ray Silver, D Savage, I just don't know what is next. It's something I have to get back to you.
Okay, fair enough. Now I got that, and that's certainly a comment that I expected. And like I said, I never expect anybody to come on the platform and just tell us the plan because I always tell anybody anyway. Don't tell your plans on Sportswire because it will certainly come back to you and come back to me, and then we can't have you come back on the platform because somebody will say, "Well, you spoiled the beans." But let me ask you though. Now you've got this thing which I referred to a lot actually yesterday, and actually referred to a little bit about it with Rad Dad Radley Belmont, of course, the GTS undisputed IC and US champion, and he's obviously known Mr. Gabe Sayers. There he goes, the Gabe Sayer reference again. But Riot in the Ring coming up on June the 1st. And, D Savage spoke a lot about that. And he was talking about the different people. Doc Holliday was the name that came up because Rad Dad knows Doc Holliday very well. And we spoke a lot about him. And, Stephen Havoc is coming on to the platform. I know Stephen Havoc. When I was like, wow, Stephen Havoc's on your show. I'm like, I know Stephen Havoc. And I'm not going to say some of the things here on the air that I know about Stephen Havoc that he knows about somebody else that came on here that was trying to challenge somebody that's probably listening right now that probably should not challenge that person based on experience. But I'm going to not go there because we are trying to really at least be diplomatic on that. But Riot in the Ring is this one-day tournament that's supposed to have the best of the best. Now, Jake Matthews, you are clearly the best of the best in Hall of Famers in the Sportswire radio history. Actually, statistically speaking, that's a fact. Nobody can dispute that. So does that mean then, come June the 1st, that anybody that wants to test their skills could enter this tournament, even if they may not work in NEW, or maybe even if we haven't seen them before on TV? I'm curious to elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, the door's been open. Fortunately, a few people dropped from the show recently. However,
one friend of ours I did see drop out, who I know very well.
We do have other people in mind. We are waiting for that to be finalized. However, I believe we have one other spot left. So whoever wants to come down, whoever wants to step in the ring with anybody for that matter at NEW, or even anybody on the tournament list roster, feel free to message me on Instagram or Facebook. Snapchat, even if you got that, I guess. If you do want to show up, you are more than welcome. The door is open. There is one spot left unless people drop from the show. However, we all know with wrestling, card subject is to change.
I actually have a not so funny joke on that real quick before I get to one more point on that. I had interviewed a wrestler who was supposed to be in our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, and I won't say who he is. It's on in the UK, and I actually had to take him out of the Hall of Fame because actually speaking of cards subject to change, it was apparently found with certainly confirmation that he did something that he should not have did to a married woman, basically. So let's just let me put it that I can't say the story on the air because somebody will find it and they will probably put a bullet in my head and say, Tom, what were you doing? But it's a huge topic in UK wrestling right now. So I mean, that's why we said cards are subject to change. Automatically thought about that story. But going back to that real quick, you said anybody, right? Anybody in one spot left. Now, again, my ears might need to be checked. I know I have a lot of problems. Clearly, I'm not all there. And I probably should be in a mental institution somewhere. I'm only kidding. It's a joke. But the facts is there's one spot left and anybody that wants to test their skills. Now, would that mean anybody just to make sure and there's one spot left? Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I'll say anybody. Depending on who it is.
Depending on who. Now, certainly, we wouldn't want to put somebody in the riot in the ring that, let's say, really shouldn't be in a wrestling ring or somebody.
Yeah, I don't want things to get loose. I don't want people.
We don't want imposters. We don't want people that have a resume. Don't have a resume. We want people that actually, have seen and shown their skills across the world and other major promotions like NEW and have won championships. Now, let's say somebody with that type of resume who's, won multiple championships in different promotions and, has been a main eventer and has wrestled guys that, most people that watch Sportswire Radio or, certainly follow backyard and underground wrestling, they knew who those individuals or that one individual. Would that be a contender of at least somebody to make their case? Maybe not, we're going to say yes tonight, but at least make their case that they could, certainly say, you know what, maybe I would like to be in this riot in the ring. Although I will say, if that's what you want, you may not have an idea of what you're getting into because this is NEW. This isn't other companies that might have, oh boy, how do I say this? Maybe blood that may not look like blood and, wrestlers that may not necessarily be in the same category as some of the people we have in NEW, maybe putting it in a very nice way. So based on those things, that's a fair statement for me to make or fair to say if that person wants to maybe make a case for it, would be a good opportunity for them to spend a few minutes on your time, by the way. They're taking your time tonight, by the way. They're taking your time here. And they want to make this case that they should be included, but their resume maybe at least gives them a chance to come on here for a few minutes and tell us why they should be one of those contenders for that last spot in the riot in the ring. What would you say about that?
I would say that NEW is pretty much ran off of the anti-everything. Going through with doing what the popular federations like to do. If there's somebody that likes to stir up the pot a little bit, you know what? Business is business.
Yeah.
I have a feeling on who this could potentially be.
Yeah. And if this person's also in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame and has certainly said a number of things on this platform that is definitely call them fill in the blank stirrers, that would basically fit the description, correct?
Yeah, I mean, let's just put it this way without saying too much. The riot in the ring could become a little bit more real.
Well, speaking of that, I think it's going to get real very quickly because I think somebody wants to make their case, and they've requested a few minutes here live to do that. And he's really a guy that's definitely unleashed a few pipe bombs on this platform. He has called out a number of different people here, and he is definitely somebody that does have some real wrestling skills, and he wants to make his case to be in the riot in the ring. And he is none other than the real deal Anthony Steele.
What's good, boy?
Anthony Steele. So obviously Jake Matthews is our newest member of the Hall of Fame. He's also obviously a part of NEW. And this is a company that's, kind of like you, against the grain, anti-everything, kind of does things in a different twist. And you obviously are somebody that's real in the ring. You're a real looking wrestler in the ring. But
Oh yeah.
riot in the ring is, a real thing that, people that might want to say they're wrestlers really shouldn't have any business getting into. But, Anthony, I'm letting you have the floor because this is Mr. Matthews' time, and this is definitely this is not planned. This was totally, again, we had no idea this was happening, but I want to give you the floor and tell us why you wanted to talk to Jake Matthews and why on June 1st you might be somebody that could fill that one spot in the riot in the ring.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man.
I'm doing all right.
Doing well.
Yeah.
Over this week, he just got engaged. He's the best Hall of Famer in terms of the number of championships he's won, and he's got a job promotion on Monday. So let's hope this isn't the same ones as like the Zack Attack and the Silver Wolf, and who's the other guy that came on here that faked cancer? Let's not even go there. But the point is, Jake Matthews, by the way, this is Jake Matthews. I just want to say, this is a guy that's having the best week of his life. So, hopefully you'll continue that momentum for him.
Jake Matthews, man. I've talked to you, but you've never came across my radar yet. Keyword, yet. See, because I heard what you said. It might get a little real, right? It might get a little real. A little controversial if we were to say. Look, man. Riot in the yard, man. Who brings a riot more than Anthony Steele, man? Anthony Steele got everybody watching. Everybody. People that are wrestlers, wrestling fans, pro wrestlers, UK wrestlers. I mean, I got them all.
Got 95 people watching us right now, if you're actually really wondering.
You want to know why, Jake?
Why?
Because real recognizes real, man. Oh. And that's why I'm on here. For that reason and that reason only, Jake. Because real recognizes real.
Okay.
See, I've watched you. I've studied you. And you got talent, kid. You got talent. You ain't got Anthony Steele talent, but you got talent.
He's a 15-year veteran, though. How could he be a kid?
Hey, 15 years, bro. I've taken shits longer than that. All right.
We're not gonna go there because I'm sure now all of a sudden the peanut gallery is gonna go. Anthony said that. What again about the number 2? But continue.
But look, man. It's your company has been one of them that I've eyeballed of showing up, doing some work with. You got Big Bad Power Surge over there. 2 guys that Anthony still would love to go one-on-one with, man. See if y'all are capable of standing up with a true legend around here. See, because the best part about it is, Tom knows it. Tom said it. Whether you want to admit it or not, you got to love and respect what the fuck I've done. The places I've been, people I've faced.
Down south especially, another one in the Midwest. I mean, you certainly went down there in those companies, and they haven't been the same since. I mean, one company in the Midwest, I mean, the viewership has pretty much dropped since you left. And another company down south, I mean, you went there, basically gave a real kind of like wrestling skills there, and they don't want you back. I mean, for probably reasons we probably kind of know of if you watch this platform. But I mean, certainly, you've gone to the big places, you went to the big time, you came, you went and conquered, and I guess now you might want to go to the new alternative, kind of the new place that everybody should be looking at, and which actually have been looking at. And you're always about the views, right, Anthony? You're always about the followers, and this is a company that actually has those things. As a matter of fact, they actually have more followers, many more followers than one of those popular companies, quote unquote, that has been around for decades, that you certainly worked for and held a major championship for. And they actually have on par of the views of another company that you certainly ran in and, certainly did some things down south with 3 initials. And, and they're actually, though, a company that is hardcore. They actually, when they go out there and they have blood, it's real blood. It's not ketchup from a Heinz ketchup packet. It's not, blood from somebody's, Crayola crayons art packet that they got from Christmas. It's actual blood that they might have to say, call an ambulance for, or go to ER. I mean, think all things you know about. So, and we're not talking about any particular company about the blood part, but the point is, this is a company that when they say hardcore, it's really hardcore. The people that are going to be in the riot in the ring, a guy like Stephen Havoc, he's real, right? You're all about real.
I'm all about real, man.
Real. Doc Holliday is so real that the GTS undisputed IC and US champion, Rad Dad Radley Belmont, even said, Doc Holliday, I know him. I respect him. He's in the riot in the ring. So this is real. This isn't like when you come on other previous streams and guys are saying, yeah, I wrestled you, and one guy looked like a number 2 stain on his pants, and the other guy couldn't run the ring ropes, and the other guy that went out there and is in 8 Hall of Fames and is told you supposed to be put up or shut up, but it was pull up or shut up, or another guy that calls himself the Backyard Nightmare, and maybe the last interview he had wasn't much of was a nightmare to watch, but it's different conversation for different time. The point is that Jake Matthews, he's real. Power Surge is real. Are you sure that this is something you want? This is real competition here. This isn't Atomic Titan. This isn't DJ Wolbert. This isn't even Hunter Halkin. No. We love those guys. But this is like real, true professional athletes. Jake Matthews, Power Surge, D Savage, Justin Abel Sane, Tyson Spade, Doc Holliday, Stephen Havoc. This is where the pros play. This is the pros. This isn't like Fletch basically playing with his toy figures like an XDW and saying, I'm going to control who wins and loses. These guys go out here and fight until the death. Are you sure this is what you want?
Here, I'll give my answer directly to Jake. Look, man. I've done some shit that a lot of people where I'm from would be scared to do.
That's true. Good point.
I haven't done some shit that people were scared to do, so they wouldn't let me do it. And it seems like y'all are the place to let me do it. See, that's the fun thing. That's what intrigues me. It's a suspense of what could happen. What could take place? Could we see Jake Matthews versus Anthony Steele?
I don't know. The man's right here. He's right there.
Could we see this 5'0" face this 6'4" giant?
But this is the best Hall of Famer of all time who's got 50 championships nearly. He ain't 5'0" in the ring.
Hey, look. You know what that means, man?
What?
You know what that 50 world championships mean? That means you lost 49 times.
But he's won 50.
You've lost 49 times.
But he's the Ric Flair and the Tom Brady of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame.
Hey,
It's
look.
the best week of his life, by the way. The best week of his life.
Prove it.
You
Hey,
see?
look.
I told you.
Look, man. I get it.
You do?
Achievements, man. Achievements.
You've achieved a lot.
I have. See, and that's the thing. I didn't need a championship to dictate what I've achieved.
That's true.
I didn't need to hold some gold. See, it got to the point where Tom, I'm sorry, but I name drop. XCW had to get rid of me.
Oh no, you can mention that in a way.
Because XCW had to.
He doesn't want. So it's okay. You can talk about
XCW had to get rid of me, bro, for the simple fact no one could beat me. If you saw it, I went undefeated on every main show. Every main show. No one could figure out how to beat me.
XCW's not NEW. XCW's like kids playing T-ball compared to NEW. These are where true hardcore wrestlers wrestle. This isn't. I
understand that y'all aren't Atomic Titan who gets hyped because he's going to land on Legos.
Well, I like Atomic Titan. I gotta say, we'll slow down on that. I think XCW, we could certainly say that that's a T-ball compared to NEW.
See, it got to the point where now it's time to really take shots. It got to the point where there was supposed to be a match set up, Resurrection Wrestling, where the hardcore champion was going to face me.
Mm-hmm.
And the shit that I said I was going to do, They were scared. They were scared, and that's the thing. When you have a title of hardcore, I when you bring that title into a champion in a company and give it a whole division, give it a championship, you got to live up to those standards. See, because the way I look at it is when you say a hardcore championship, what do I think? Blood. Where's the blood going to be?
No, we have real blood here in any.
Where's the thumbtacks? Where's that table? Where's that ladder? Where's those chairs? Where's that barbed wire? Where's all that fun shit, man? Where's the fire?
In this company, you get that, Anthony Steele. So, Anthony, are you saying? And people are actually saying that come play with the big boys, which is what I'm saying. These are the pros. These are the pros. Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure that tonight, right now, live on all Sportswire radio platforms, and for the world to see, I have 99 people watching us right now. Are you telling the world that you want to step foot in the riot in the ring on June 1st? Is that what you're telling us?
See, look. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Jake. I gotta check my schedule. I gotta see if I'm booked for June 1st. I'm a busy man. I'm a busy man.
Okay.
You know, I gotta make my bread just as much as you.
Chase Wakefield. All right, Chase Wakefield.
Hey, look, Chase Mayfield. Hey, Chase Mayfield wishes he could be Anthony fucking Steele. All right, hey, as you said, let's keep it real up in this bitch. All right, I'm a busy man. I gotta make my bread how I do.
Yeah.
So if it is June 1st, we're gonna see what happens. If it's not June 1st, what I can guarantee though is by the end of 2024, you will see Jake Matthews versus Anthony Steele. By the end of 2024, you will see Anthony Steele versus Power Surge. Because y'all two are the ones that are on my hit list from NAW. That's the thing. Is when I go around here, you just gonna relinquish my messages like that? That's invasion of privacy.
It's the wrong link. It's the wrong link. Sorry.
That's invasion of privacy.
No, wrong link. There you go. Sorry.
That's invasion of privacy.
Anyway, but that's a different conversation. The comments, but there you go. There's the page.
But,
I want to promote NEW while we're here.
I'm gonna make it my mission to go to NEW, find the so-called great one, Jake Matthews.
He's the Born to Battle briefcase holder, who's the best on the card. That's the actual name. Just wanted to let you know.
I'm gonna find you.
He's right here, though.
And I'm gonna put my hands on you.
You are?
See, and I'm not James Taylor. I'm not gonna make that promise and then not show up. All right.
Well, you have shown up in place.
It's gonna happen.
You have shown up.
It's gonna happen, man. One way or another.
All right. Well, I want to obviously get to a few final thoughts here, but first of all, before I get to Mr. Matthews, the bar is raised up and then brought down your head. That's what Soup Kitchen's telling us. NEW is where the bar is raised. Come play with the big boys, and you need to pause on some of the things you're saying. So, this is certainly ruffled some feathers in NEW. This is a place that this is serious. This is a serious promotion. This is a serious promotion, Anthony Steele. I mean, obviously, Mr. Matthews wants to say a few final words before we move off on the air. But, Anthony, you sure you can do it? You want to do this?
What, face him?
Yeah. You sure? You sure do it?
Bro, I'm more serious than the cancer fucking thing that Loose Cannon tried to pull over a year ago.
But this is real, though. I'm telling you.
Exactly. This is what's real. I can't have the moniker of being the real deal without being real with them. Jake, listen, man. We've talked. We've had conversations. We've had laughs, especially on the multiple people who deserve to be laughed at and get laughed at on this platform.
You can laugh at me here right now. I'm live. You can laugh at me if you want.
But you got to think, man. It's time.
Yeah.
Anthony, I do respect you. I know that probably will just get me heat alone saying that.
How do you think I feel? deal when I bring Anthony on every time. People are like, you sure you bring him on? I'm like, no, I'm bringing him on because I bring everybody on the platform because that's my endorsement. So I endorse everybody on the platform. But go ahead.
However, we have a long list of names of people. I'm going to go NEW. Let's wrestle. Let's do this. Let's do that. And they just don't ever show up. So you have less than 2 months until they're right in the ring. If that date don't work for you, then you know how to get a hold of me.
100%.
Facebook, Snapchat. I don't even know if I have you on Snapchat, but
is Snapchat still a thing?
However, I don't want to see you on that long list of names of people who didn't show up. I want to see you on the long list of names that Jake Matthews has beat their ass. You see, when you come to NEW, we're not going to tell you don't use tax. I love tax. I love barbed wire. I love hardcore. So if it's something hardcore you want, feel free to show up. We'll have a hardcore match.
All right. Well, Anthony, we'll have to certainly leave it. Anything else you want to say? Because I want to get to a few more things with Jake before we sign off for the year. Is there anything else you want to add, Anthony?
All right, man. So it's time to be real. Everyone don't say pause in the goddamn comments. All right. Coming from me, I've paid every single due that I've needed to do. I've paid my own transportation because I'm not one of those motherfuckers that tell everybody, hey, you gotta pay me to show up. I will pay out of my pocket to come all the way to NEW. I'll pay out of my pocket to have a personal hotel room to sleep in just so I can wake up bright and early and get ready, meet you in that arena, walk through that curtain, and put on a banger. But being added to that list of people who you whoop their ass, sorry, Toots. Anthony still never be on that list. Now, you might be Mr. Born to Battle, but when the real deal hits you, just know the stick of truth is gonna go down your throat. And the truth of the matter is, you ain't facing a man like Anthony Steele. You ain't ready for a man like Anthony Steele. Because if you ain't the real deal, you ain't Anthony fucking Steele. So let's keep it 100, man. The day will come. I'll actually show up. And that's the time that the talk's going to be over. And when that bell rings, we're going to see what's happening.
I'll be waiting.
Oh, I'll tell you what. We'll have to certainly see. And Anthony Steele, I'm sure, will see you real soon on this platform. And fans of ours and fans of NEW and fans of yours will have to say, stay tuned, and we'll have to see what happens. But we'll see you soon, Anthony, I'm sure, as soon as this weekend. And Justin Parsley's back. We're watching his match against Michael Christian. So maybe that'll be a match you might want to pop in from your old company after we basically said a few things about them. But I'll see you, Anthony, and we're going to finish with a few final thoughts from Jake.
No problem.
All right. That was Anthony Steele, who certainly tried to call his shot on your moment, and we'll certainly see if that happens, but we'll certainly say stay tuned for that. That was certainly interesting, Jake Matthews, but I'm going to close out here, and before we go about 10 more minutes with you, but first of all, Raven said pay to come, but not the come that you're thinking of, but we'll certainly leave that at that, but he says pause. Don't put your stick down people's throats, apparently, so we'll have to, certainly see some of those things, but okay, so obviously, I'll let that stuff sort itself out. Well, let's talk about final few things first on Stay Alive. First is, what would be your final advisory thoughts for Rhea Silver coming up here for this weekend? Should she decide to come, or maybe she's deciding not to be at Stay Alive? What would be your final advisory thoughts for Rhea Silver?
Quit. Quit. You do not want to step in the ring with me once again. I mean, look what I did to you outside of a match. Just imagine what I will do to you inside of the ring during a sanctioned match.
Fair. Okay, fair. Let me then ask you then this. Could this potentially be the biggest weekend to date for Redux?
Definitely one of them. I mean, me or Zero could walk out the new hardcore champion. Power Surge could successfully retain his Northeast Championship. And if Stay Alive's just a good night to hold a briefcase, Redux might also walk out as the undisputed champion. But it's definitely, needless to say, going to be a great and a big night for Redux. A lot on the line, a lot can happen. It's definitely up there.
Fair enough. Do you have, since D Savage had some words for you yesterday to close the show, would you like to give him any final words?
Instead of worrying about trading aggros, he should be worrying about who he's going to be stepping in the ring on Saturday against Power Surge. He needs to learn that this is going to be submission or knockout. It's not going to be a walk in the park, knocking out or making Power Surge submit. And I hope he is a religious man, and I hope if he is, praise to God, that he will still be, no pun intended, alive after Saturday.
So, in my capacity as a reverend, technically, should I be preparing to give him a few final words or prepare his last rites from what you're telling me just now? Because I actually am a reverend.
Well, we did give a funeral to Rhea Silver earlier this season, so I think it would only be fair if you could do the same for D Savage.
Well, I will certainly have to find the attire for that. Well, I really don't wear any proper attire, but we'll have to certainly say that very well could be the case. Okay, so we'll certainly see about that. And I did want to ask you one more question before we get to closing thoughts. And obviously, one more time, I want people to follow the NEW YouTube channel where you can watch Vortex tomorrow, Stay Alive coming up, and we're getting ready to wrap this season coming up. And we're obviously June 1st is Riot in the Ring. And I want to thank everybody here for tuning in. We actually have 103 people watching us. So it seems like people seem to like these shows lately, whether it's on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and elsewhere. So thank you for tuning in. But let me then ask you, what would you want to say for your final thoughts before we get to closing to anybody else out there? Obviously, you had an individual that popped on here for about 15 minutes that tried to basically, declare himself as a potential entrant. We'll certainly say I'll let that process play out for itself. But is there anything else you want to say to anybody here before the evening is to close?
Just like Anthony Steele, if you want your 15 minutes of fame, feel free to message us on Instagram. Underground Wrestling, we will give you 15 minutes of fame. We will not be paying for you to show up.
Oh, really? You don't pay? I'll let everybody know now. Now I'll see like half the wrestlers that message me. Oh, okay, they're not paying. They'll go to the exit. So
we've had a few, funny enough, that did ask what we pay, and yeah, that's a story for another day.
It's funny you said that real quick off the record or on the record. Actually, on the record, I'm live. I've actually had people ask me, "Oh, do you pay to bring people on the air?" I said, "No." I mean, I said I actually pay to run the station, probably like how you pay to set the ring up. I don't pay, but I mean, I give you the publicity. I'm happy to do that, but I mean, I would think that if you are actually looking to get paid, you might want to say, maybe you want to take Monopoly money. And I want to add one more thing on that. One more thing on what you said before we get to closing thoughts. NEW, this is a place that actually, if you watched it, which I know people have right now, this is where real hardcore are with companies that like, Mikey Anarchy have wrestled it. Jimmy Controversy has wrestled it. Madman Pondo. Some other people here. One guy that had to back out of the tournament will certainly say name because he's actually a friend, and I don't want to. I actually like him. But the point is that this is a place that actually the blood is real, the moves are real, the wrestlers, most importantly, are real here. This is not make believe. This is not cosplay here. This is not we're gonna book and make believe. This is where true wrestling is taking place. We have pro athletes that wrestle literally in the backyard here. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. We have pro athletes here that wrestle in the backyard. So that's all I want to say. And we love every company that comes on the platform, but I just want to put that out as one disclaimer. Again, everybody, all wrestling matters on Sportswire. Want to say it. We love everybody out here. But this company, though, when they do things, their old adage is, kids really don't try what NEW does at home. Just Just saying, don't try it at home because you may not necessarily come back and it won't it'll be real. But before we get to closing thoughts, fire Spade. Well, I mean, you know what I mean. I mean, he's going to be. Listen, I don't want to spoil anything. I want people to watch Saturday because at the end of the day, I mean, listen, you said a couple things on the which I want to leave at that. I mean, you had your own little scene with Mr. Spade not too long ago in Vortex, so I think he's got his own things to worry about with Justin Abel Sane. So, I mean, obviously, Justin Abel Sane, which a man you don't like much either, but he's also a man that, I'm sure is going to handle Mr. Spade. But I will say one more thing for closing thoughts. D Savage, if you think that getting into a match with Mikey Anarchy is something you want, and you still say you want Angel Santiago is doing celebrity boxing, I really hope that egg roll was the greatest egg roll of your life, because if you by somehow, some chance survive Power Surge and you have that opportunity after June 15th to face Mikey Anarchy or Angel Santiago, I mean, I'm going to talk to you about that. This is the clue. I still say I don't know. I don't know what the logic was there. It must have been a late night. That's all I'm going to say. Different conversation for a different time. My friend, I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? And this has been a lively one. It's been a Hall of Fame-like one, and you've certainly proved why you are the best Hall of Famer around and why you are pretty much everything you are. And I turn it over to you with some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tom. So first, we have Vortex coming out tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And then Stay Alive, our next big event, will be at Saturday, 2 p.m. roughly live. Should be going as long as...
Excellent.
Well, 2 p.m. Saturday. For those who aren't already, or for those who need to unblock them, feel free to go follow the Mr. 15 Minutes of Fame himself, Anthony Steele.
Wow, you plugged the guy that interrupted and shot his shot on your time. That's crazy, boy.
It's 16 minutes now. It's charity work. It's charity work.
Oh, God. This must be some week you had. I'll tell you that much.
Listen, great week. Nothing bothered me tonight. Last but not least, thank you, Tom, for inducting me into the Hall of Fame. I greatly appreciate it. And for those who are tuning in for the first time, like, comment, subscribe to the Sportswire Radio, because it's definitely by far the best podcast I've listened to and I've watched. So,
even Chase Wakefield said that when he was quote unquote retiring from the Hall of Fame, and you dropped his name, and he at least meant to say, I mean, any steel-like topic right now in the world of the backyard and underground, but I will say that he did actually say that this is the only show out there that actually does what we do here. So I will say that, that much. And I can't badmouth Chase. He's in my Hall of Fame, and he's coming back on to actually talk about his final 2 matches, which I'm calling, by the way. So I mean, maybe we'll call one of your matches next time you come back. How about that? Maybe that would be something you're interested in. If you like. I mean, you are Jake Matthews, so we could do that. It'll be fun. All right, so we'll definitely do that. But I want everybody, actually, while you're here, please follow one more time NEW, and also make sure you follow Jake Matthews, because you got to get in touch with him. You got to follow him on Instagram. You got to follow NEW and all these links below, and they're also on Patreon, so please support them. They're a great company, and certainly great things. Great minds think alike, and great people do great things. And obviously, if it wasn't for Gabe Sayers, I wouldn't be talking NEW. So I have to give Gabe a big shout as always. And Gabe is a big fan of mine. And obviously, if he likes what they're doing, everybody should follow them. And we see a lot of TF Crew and NEW crossover. So make sure you support both companies. But ladies and gentlemen, we are here with our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. He is our 3rd member of our 7th class, 63rd member. He is now the best Hall of Famer around. He's got the most championships of any Hall of Famer in our history. He's a now 2-time Hall of Famer. He is the 2024 Born to Battle briefcase holder. His name is Jake Matthews, the best on his card, and I'm wearing his shirt. That's the best on the card. And if you're on Sportswire Radio, going back to your regularly scheduled programming, I'll be back here 10 o'clock tomorrow night after SmackDown. I'll be here Saturday also at 10 o'clock. I'll be here with Justin Parsley and Michael Christian calling their match in XCW. So after all the things I said about XCW, I'm going to have XCW coverage on, but it's all in fun. We love XCW. We love the guys there, but it's just, they're not NEW. I mean, NEW, it's really, kids don't try this at home. But obviously I digress. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. On the number one double ration that is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters.